for. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
From publicaddress.net, Media 7 show on TVNZ7. It is Russell Brown back with us this morning. Morning, Russell.
Good morning.
Yesterday's post, were you attacking Finlay MacDonald in the Sunday Star Times? What was going on there?
No, just carrying on the discussion. I don't entirely disagree with Finlay talking about the professional taking of offence driven by the media, but I kind of took issue with a few things he said, so I thought it was worth carrying on the discussion.
So is it was he attacking the media for whinging about things, or was he attacking the people for whinging at the media?
Well, he was attacking everyone.
Right.
He used some fairly strong language, purse-lipped professional offence takers and bleating panty waists.
Was it an excuse to use highfalutin language?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Complacent, infantile offence taking. People making platitudinous announcements to justify their own existence, and everyone ought to grow up.
Yeah.
So this was principally the greater part of the column was taken up with the grammar students who did the idiotic photo session in front of the swastika at Auckland War Memorial Museum, which I'm sort of surprised that people dismiss that as mere hijinks and nothing should happen, because it was just a really dumb, inappropriate thing to do on a school trip to a war memorial museum when you're in uniform.
Yeah.
If the school gets to know about that, there are going to be consequences. I don't think they should be, suspended or anything like that. But I actually thought it was a reasonable form of restorative justice to have them come in and sit there in front of people who are desperately offended by what they did.
The issue, I suppose, with the media's reaction and the media carrying on with the story day after day. Yeah,
exactly. But the media do that all the time. I think Finlay was kind of, teenage, males sometimes do stupid things, and my point was, certain sections of the media really do over-egg things. It happens all the time.
Yeah. But why should we accept that?
But why should we single out this case? Certainly. I suppose it's because I don't actually subject myself to the 6 o'clock news all the time.
Right.
I totally agree with Finlay. A live cross from the museum to lead the news, I thought that was kind of crazy. But then again, we do live crosses leading the news for
everything.
For everything.
Yeah, and sometimes what I see last week, it was the Air New Zealand apology. It was TV3. You had Mike McRoberts with two other reporters on the scene. Mike McRoberts interviewing the reporters, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
What?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah, we do it for things like, the rugby disciplinary hearings and things like that. What's happened here is basically we had the Lincoln students, and then Radio New Zealand, which was the source of the grammar story, was tipped off to these photos on the Facebook page. And once you've got two, it becomes a trend. And then you had the really rather tenuous one with the Auckland Gay Bar running a private party called Concentration Camp. I think the emphasis was on the camp rather than the concentration.
Yeah.
But so therefore it becomes a trend and it can be reported as such. It is quite striking, though, that the Grammar Boys' escapades were reported as far afield as Britain. There was a story in the Daily Telegraph about it last week.
But that's because
it's not just our media.
But that's because if it leads the news here, they have news monitors. They're always looking for the odd and strange stuff around the world, and that just fell into that category.
Yeah. Their angle was students at top school disciplined for bowing down in front of the swastika.
Yeah.
I'm not inclined to, excuse that behaviour too much. It was a war memorial museum, for goodness sake. It was just a really dumb, inappropriate thing to do.
Yeah.
So, Finlay also ventured on to the Jan Moyer column about the Boyzone member, Stephen Gately, who died on holiday. Is it Mallorca, was it?
Was, yeah.
And suggesting that was kind of some sort of faux outrage. I actually think that the response to that completely took everyone by surprise, and it was driven by new media and Twitter. because it was such a repulsive column, and that she was inventing her own facts. The coroner has said that this guy, not exactly even a Boyzone fan, but this guy died of natural causes. He died of a pulmonary edema caused by an underlying undiagnosed heart condition. And in this Jan Moyer column, she appeared to be suggesting that not only was there something more sinister and, quote, sleazy about it, but that his family were covering it up. And this is the day before they were burying the guy.
Yeah.
Even by the lamentable standards of the Daily Mail, which is a nasty, small-minded paper that appeals to bigots, basically, even by the standards of the Daily Mail, this was a bad one.
Okay. Well, Russell, you just said a little bit earlier on that you don't live by the 6 o'clock news. Do you ever feel any pangs of when you do miss the 6 o'clock news, oh, what did I miss out on?
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the modern age, is that I can go and look at it on the website, which I quite often do.
Okay.
So I've got control of the process, basically.
But then when you do go and look at it, do you 90% of the time disappointed?
Yeah. You just get angry, and there's almost this sort of assumption in TV news that you can't do depth, so no one tries. That's maybe unfair to some of the better reporters, because, you got someone like Lisa Owen at One News, who I think is a tremendously good reporter. But in general, you're not watching TV news for the full story.
Unless, and I must say, we should always point out that the news on TVNZ7, the 8 o'clock news, is very good. They always go in depth.
I like that one. And you get a lot more foreign news, and there is no time wasted on live crosses.
Yeah.
If they talk to a third party, it will be someone in the studio.
It's almost as if the news that they pour the least amount of resources into and the least amount of money into is actually the better news.
Yeah, I tend to feel that way myself.
There's no flashy big screens and things to walk in front of or anything like that. It's just the straight news.
An hour of news. There's a lot of news in that news hour.
Yeah.
So, yes, but...
what do you make of this ad on TVNZ7 for the month of looking at the economy, and it features Bill English? The Labour Party have come out and said it looks like a National Party political broadcast.
Yeah, I probably can't say too much because I'm on that channel. I think I would have written that promo differently. I think it creates an unfortunate impression because for the other point of view is that what a great catch. They're doing a whole month at TVNZ7 on the recession and recovering from it. Great catch to get the Minister of Finance in there.
Yeah.
And I think they could have done that differently, and it wouldn't have been so controversial.
It just could have been mentioned that he's part of it, right?
Yeah. You can only imagine that had the shoe been on the other foot, and had it been Michael Cohen in government, and the same thing had happened, the National would have been going ballistic as well.
Definitely.
That's just politics.
Yeah.
So I hope it doesn't obscure the fact that they put a lot of work into this themed month on TVNZ7. They are trying to definitely actually provide some public service broadcasting, but big distraction at the front of it, you have to say. Yeah.
Hey, finally, Russell, you went to Armageddon on the weekend.
Yes.
Was it fun?
It was, actually, and I really liked I meant to write about it yesterday, but I ran out of time. The Robot Chicken panel session.
Yeah.
Thought the panels were a wee bit thin for my purposes for most of the weekend, but the Robot Chicken one was excellent.
Now that features Seth Green, didn't it?
Yeah, Seth Green, what a cool guy.
Yeah.
It was nice, and one really striking thing which plays into what we're doing on Media 7 tonight was the number of kids there. And because we're looking tonight, or the one we record tonight, screens tomorrow night on Media 7 at children's television, which doesn't appear to be in the best of health. But you kind of look at it and you think, well, maybe kids actually don't want children's programming anymore.
Well, interesting, talking to Vincent Heringer this morning, and we were talking about this new generation called Generation Z. It's got a label to it. And he said a survey, granted it was done by the Cartoon Network, but it said that television still makes up the bulk of the media that children between the ages of 9 and 14 engage with.
Yeah, although it'd be interesting to know to what extent they're watching broadcast TV as scheduled, and what extent they're watching DVDs based on products created for television.
Right. Yeah.
And I suspect it's more and more the latter. We tend to forget that. My kids have grown up with the absolute expectation that whatever's on TV, they'll be able to copy and repeat it.
Yeah.
There's always been, at the least, a VCR in the house.
Yeah.
And, they don't watch broadcast TV at all now. It's slightly alarming.
Certainly is, and alarming also that apparently Generation Z are making more decisions than any other generation before them.
Well, I suppose so, yeah, because everything is a decision now, because you have to, you get to decide when and where you want it.
Yeah, apparently so.
That's an interesting point, actually.
Even right down to where your family going to eat that night.
Yeah. I mean, what are the implications of all that decision-making?
Yeah.
I don't think we quite know yet.
No.
One thing, good to see Scientology in trouble.
Is it in trouble?
Yeah. There's a fraud overnight, fraud finding in France. The Hollywood director Paul Haggis has cut his ties with Scientology.